The room was buzzing with anticipation as I walked in, the silence broken only by the soft hum of the fluorescent lights overhead. It was 9:30 a.m., a Monday I would never forget. The sleek, modern conference table gleamed under the bright lights, its edges sharp and clinical, but the people around it, they weren't so sharp. They were calm, like they had been expecting me, like they had been waiting for this moment, for me to walk in and be handed the one thing I'd worked so hard for, but instead, I felt the weight of their stares, colder than I'd ever experienced. I stood there, my palms flat against the side of my suit, watching them, trying not to let the panic seep through. "We appreciate you coming in on short notice," said Ethan, the new CEO. His voice was polite but lacking any warmth, and his eyes didn't quite meet mine. I nodded, waiting, knowing something was wrong but not sure exactly what. Behind him, the screen flickered on. The meeting's agenda was already there, laid out in front of me, projected onto the wall, like it was just another business as usual day. But this wasn't just another day. This wasn't a regular meeting. This was the meeting where I was about to lose everything. "Ethan, what's this about?" I asked, keeping my voice steady, though inside I was drowning. "We've decided that we're going in a different direction," Ethan continued, shifting in his chair. "We're pulling back from the deal we discussed last week, the one you worked so hard to secure." The words didn't make sense. I had spent the last 6 months on this deal. The lifetime deal, the one that would finally push my company to the next level. I had poured my heart into it, sacrificed time with my family, worked through late nights, ignored the warning signs of burnout, all for this. This was going to be the breakthrough I had been waiting for. "You're pulling back?" I repeated, disbelief flooding my chest. "What do you mean? We had everything in place. We had the terms. The agreement was it's no longer in our best interest," Ethan said, cutting me off. "We've decided to move forward without you. We'll be going with another partner instead." My mind raced. I blinked a few times, trying to process his words, but they felt like they were coming from another world. It didn't feel real. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not after all I'd done. Not after all I'd sacrificed. My hands shook, but I kept my posture straight, unwilling to show weakness. No one else in the room flinched. No one even looked remotely uncomfortable. "And this is it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper now, the room spinning. No explanation. No discussion. "I've put everything into this. It's just business," Ethan said, his words dismissive. As if that could somehow justify the weight of betrayal hanging in the air. I stared at him. At all of them, and for a moment, I felt as if I had stepped outside of my own body. I was looking at them, but it felt like I was watching someone else in this situation, someone weaker, someone who wasn't me. I had been used, played, and now they were telling me it was just business. I nodded slowly, keeping my emotions under control, but, deep down, I knew that nothing would ever be the same again. The deal of a lifetime was gone, ripped from my hands by the very people I trusted most. I walked out of that room as if my legs weren't even my own. My heart was pounding, but I didn't let it show. The hallway felt longer than usual, like the walls were closing in on me. My mind kept replaying Ethan's words, over and over again. They didn't even have the decency to give me a real reason. I barely remember walking to the parking garage. I got into my car and sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel, staring ahead, the engine off. My thoughts were racing, spinning in every direction. The weight of it all felt unbearable, but I couldn't let myself fall apart. Not now. Not here. I had too much to lose. I sat there for what felt like hours, though it was only 45 minutes. I thought about my family, my team, the sacrifices I'd made. The late nights, the missed dinners, the moments I'd let slip away because I was so focused on this deal. Now it was gone, taken from me by corporate greed, by people I thought had my back. I finally started the engine, and as I pulled out of the parking garage, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let this defeat me. I was going to take control. I had to. I wasn't going to sit around and let them win. I pulled my phone out and started going through the contacts. There was one number I had been avoiding, one person I had hoped I would never have to call, but I knew I had no choice. "Hey, it's me," I said when the phone picked up. "We need to talk." The conversation was brief, but it was all I needed. I knew I had leverage, and I wasn't going to waste it. I had been dropped from the deal, but that didn't mean I was done. Not by a long shot. The next few weeks were a blur of meetings, calls, and backroom deals. I started building something new, something better. I pulled in all the contacts I had made during the deal. I called in favors, leveraged old relationships, and dug deep into the network I had carefully built over the years. I was done being the person who was left behind. The betrayal stung, but it lit a fire in me, one that I hadn't felt in a long time. I started drafting new contracts, meeting with investors, and pitching a new vision. A vision that was mine, one that would never be ripped away by a corporation that didn't see my value. I fought for every dollar, every contract, every partnership. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when I thought about walking away. But I kept going. And then, when the dust finally settled, when I stood on the stage with a check for $50 million in my hand, I realized something. They had underestimated me. They had thought that by pulling out of the deal, they could erase me. But in reality, they had given me the motivation I needed to build something even greater. I wasn't just getting back at them. I was taking control of my future. I had turned their betrayal into my win. As I stood there, looking out at the crowd, I realized that sometimes, the best thing you can do when you've been knocked down is to get up and fight back harder. Because the moment they think they've won is the moment you've already begun your next move.